College Football Now by Chat Sports coming up in just a moment. We are ramping up the college football coverage here on the channel. As your college football headquarters, we are the place for transfer portal news, recruiting news, counting you down to the college football playoff. If you are a diehard college football fan, this is the channel for you. Bosses want to know, can we get 20 subs off today's video? I believe we can. And if we do, we're going to be bringing you more college football content than ever before here on College Football Now. Subscribe. You'll be glad you did. We'll start with today's show. Transfer portal is in full effect. Just a few days in, already over 1,000 players in the portal and a lot of notable quarterbacks on this edition of College Football Now. I got 10 of them and their top destinations, predicting where I think they will ultimately end up. Let's start off with Riley Leonard. I think that he is going to Notre Dame and joining the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for his next destination. Riley Leonard at one point was Mel Kiper Jr.'s number 3 quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft class. A few injuries here and there, and Riley Leonard ultimately is not going to go to said NFL draft. And you put him on this Notre Dame team. Think about this. Notre Dame, I thought, had some flashes this season. That USC game, they looked fantastic. You go into next year, they bring a lot of guys back. You add Riley Leonard to the fold. I know Sam Hartman was a good quarterback, but I think Riley Leonard could be even better. And you might be looking at a Heisman contender and Riley Leonard being a part of the equation there, and seeing him really just step up to the plate and would have that offense rocking potentially. And think about Notre Dame's offense. Of the way that offense has worked over the last few years, they have been more of a pro-style ground and pound offense, right? You add a guy like Riley Leonard to the fold here, Notre Dame could be one of the best offenses in college football next year. They could be averaging 30-plus points a game and really open up the offense. So for me, not only Riley Leonard, obviously he's a smart guy going to Duke, so he's got the academics to go to Notre Dame. So he's got that fit going for him. But of what Notre Dame's looking for and where they're at, to me, that just seems like a natural fit for him to end up with the Irish. Where will Riley Leonard end up in the transfer portal? It's our pinned comment today. Predicted for me where you think he is going to go. Chime in and give us your prediction. Next up, Dillon Gabriel, the Oklahoma Sooners quarterback, will trade out 1-0 for another, as I believe he's headed to Eugene, Oregon, to play for the Oregon Ducks. Dillon Gabriel was fantastic for Oklahoma this year, his second school that he's played for. Remember, he started his career with UCF. Goes to Oklahoma under some crazy circumstances with Lincoln Riley gone and a new regime under Brent Venables. And this year really just found his footing with that Oklahoma team. And you think about what Oregon got out of Bo Nix, who was originally at Auburn, ends up going to Oregon and really just accelerated his career and became a much better quarterback at Oregon. I look at Dillon Gabriel, and he's much better now than what Bo Nix was when he left Auburn and headed to Oregon. I think personally Dillon Gabriel could go to Eugene and be just as good, if not better, than Bo Nix was. And Bo Nix is a Heisman finalist and going to have an invite to New York coming up later this weekend. So for me, Dillon Gabriel, you put him in Oregon, you put him in the Big Ten Conference next year, Oregon's right back in the thick of things again, contending for a college football playoff spot. Cam Ward from Washington State, we have him going to Ohio State. The big thing that Ohio State was missing in 2023 was a dynamic quarterback. Their offense was filled with playmakers like Marvin Harrison Jr. and company, but didn't have a quarterback that could really push the football the way that they wanted to, with Kyle McCord leading the way. You bring in Cam Ward into the equation, guy that's got that run and pass ability, that's very mobile. I think you're talking about the Ohio State as all of a sudden the favorites in the Big Ten. Favored over Michigan as well. And I know that you have the new teams coming into the league, and Penn State is still a contender and all that as well. I think Cam Ward is just what the doctor ordered for Ohio State. That would be huge for them if they could pull that off. USC getting Will Howard from Kansas State. The K-State quarterback who was there for a while has had his moments. Helped lead the Cats to a Big 12 title just a season ago. I know this sounds, for me, kind of like an odd fit of sorts for Will Howard to end up with SC, personally speaking. I look at what Lincoln Riley typically brings in of quarterbacks, and it's usually your prototypical NFL quarterbacks, right? The Lincoln Riley resume includes now Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, right? All those guys, NFL quarterbacks. Will Howard, at best, is a day 2 guy. At best, probably more realistically, day 3. And his style, like, it's very much the power run game. He's been the face of the QB power for that K-State offense the last few years. To me, it's an odd fit. But all the insiders on about every recruiting service are connecting these two that have Howard going ultimately to Los Angeles. So maybe Lincoln Riley can get the most out of Will Howard and really, stretch out his game, make him a better quarterback. But it does feel like an odd fit for me, if not typically the type of quarterback that Lincoln Riley usually goes for. Give us a transfer quarterback prediction. Who is somebody that's going to change schools, and where are they going to? Get in that comment section and give me a name and where you think they ultimately end up. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking about passing yards, passing touchdowns, fantasy points, receiving yards, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And you can mix and match different sports as well, from college football to the NFL, the NBA. This week, a little NFL action on Prize Picks for you. Got Lamar to have more than 195.5 passing yards. Geno to have more than 242.5 passing yards for the Seattle Seahawks. And Justin Tucker to have more than 1.5 field goals made. If all 3 of these hit, let's say I put $20 down, we're walking away with $100 on Prize Picks. So go to the links and the comments and the description of today's video to see these for yourself so you can play along with us. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS to play along today. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. Next on our list is Will Rogers from Mississippi State. We have him going to the Washington Huskies. And Rogers is a guy that fit the Mike Leach mold when Mike Leach was there. And rest in peace. I loved Mike Leach. He was exactly the perfect quarterback for what Mike Leach was doing. Then we see that they switched to more of a pro-style offense, and Mississippi State didn't have the year that they wanted. You bring him to the Washington Huskies, one of the best offenses in the country that loves to score as quick as they can, light up defenses each and every week. Going from Michael Penix Jr. to Will Rogers, I think would be a seamless transition. I think Will Rogers, you put him with that Washington team and all the talent they're expected to come back next year. Will Rogers, I think, is a Heisman candidate if he ends up with that Washington team. To me, that seems like a natural fit, one of the best fits of all these quarterbacks that we're talking about here on today's show. Now the next 5. Kyle McCord from Miami. We have him, or from Ohio State, going to Miami. The U needs a lot of help right now with what Mario Cristobal's got going on there. A lot of pressure on him to perform, and pressure on Kyle McCord too. This is a former 5-star quarterback that had high expectations, high hopes to do something, and really just underperformed, didn't deliver for Ohio State this year. I think he and Miami could be a good fit in that they're both in the same boat. They both have something to prove on the football field next season. He stays in a power conference that way. McCord this year wasn't bad. 24 touchdowns, 6 picks. He just wasn't great. And you put him in Miami, let's see what he could potentially do. Would a guy like Kyle McCord make Miami a contender? Think about that Miami team, right? This is a team that is not in a great conference. And I know that the ACC is going to add Cal and Stanford and SMU and all that. Could adding McCord bring Miami to the next level? Weigh in. Tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no on Kyle McCord. Next up is DJU. DJ Ulich, formerly of Clemson. That's where he started his career. Ultimately went to Oregon State. Oregon State had their best season in a long time. Jonathan Smith, their head coach, ultimately moves on to Michigan State. And so DJU back in the portal once again and back in the ACC, quite frankly, playing for Clemson's rival and would get to face his old head coach and Dabo Swinney again. And Florida State, what they did this year, I know that there was a lot of frustration, and rightfully so, about them not making the college football playoff, but it wasn't a fluke for the Florida State Seminoles. That is a team that Mike Norvell and company has been building. They've been doing a really good job getting that program where they need to go. You add DJU, and I think you keep things turning. You keep the wheels moving for that Florida State team, even without Jordan Travis involved in the equation. We saw what that offense looked. Without Jordan Travis, I think DJU could be a nice spark for Florida State. Then we head to Lincoln, Nebraska, the land of Cornhuskers, where I have Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina ending up here. We heard from Matt Rule, Nebraska's head coach, say just a few days ago that a good quarterback in the portal is going to cost you at least $1.5 million or $2 million. To me, this would be a great fit. Matt Rule is not running a run-and-gun offense. And Grayson McCall, he dealt with some injuries this year. He is not the best passer in the world by any means. He's shown the abilities to win some big games at Coastal Carolina and make the most with his feet at times. To me, I think that Matt Rule is a smart enough coach that he would adapt to play to Grayson McCall's strengths. And not every coach is going to do that. Nebraska, I think they got it right with the hire this time, and Matt Rule won 5 games this year. Watch out. You had Grayson McCall to the mix, and already with the strong recruiting class that the Cornhuskers are bringing in, they could be one of the better teams in the Big Ten potentially next year if you had McCall to the mix. Dante Moore from UCLA stays within the Big Ten. See what I did there? Going to Michigan. And this one makes maybe the most sense of anybody that we're talking about today. And why is that? Moore is from the state of Michigan. So he'd be coming home. Michigan probably not going to have J.J. McCarthy. He's expected to enter the NFL draft. And you add him to the mix here. I don't know who their coach is going to be. Jim Harbaugh might be gone. But Moore could be a good fit for that Michigan team if they decide to go that route and bring him in and get a good replacement for J.J. McCarthy there as far as that goes. The last quarterback on this list, you may not be familiar with him, but there's a lot of potential here with Aiden Childs from Oregon State. And the second quarterback that we have listed from the Beavs leaving that program, Childs didn't see a whole lot of this year, but in the small sample size, looked pretty good with a 68% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, very young quarterback. And the thing about him, too, is the idea of him reuniting, right? That you would bring him with Jonathan Smith, their head coach at Oregon State, to that Michigan State program. So Jonathan Smith would already have a quarterback that he's worked with, that he's comfortable with. And to me, that would make a lot of sense. So those are our predictions. We will see how they play out. We have you covered here on College Football Now with the latest happenings across the transfer portal. Subscribe now for free. We'll keep you updated, and we'll see you next time here on College Football Now.